Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us online and in person. It's a blustery evening, as we all know, but I'm glad you're here. Okay, we will now move on to our consent agenda. We have 6 items on our consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Brendan Elwood and second by Mr. Gottoff. Can I, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes and is unanimous. Let's see, before we move on to citizen comments, as indicated on tonight's agenda, if you're attending remotely and would like to submit public comment, please submit your written comments to by a person, fax, drop off, mail, or email to sopadal@northbendwa.gov by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting. We are no longer taking public comments for those attending remotely via Zoom unless they have reached out to our city clerk in advance of the meeting to request accommodation. We'll now move on to citizen comments. At this time, if you would like to comment on an item that's not on our agenda, we would invite you to come forward to the podium at this time. If you have requested accommodation with our city clerk and wish to speak during citizen comments, please raise your hand through the virtual platform and we will take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Is there anybody? Please come. Welcome.
Thank you. And I am here to talk about your comprehensive plan items. So if you have a public hearing later, I can wait.
That would probably be appropriate.
Okay,
Fine.
thank you.
For that. Anybody else?
Michael Thomas is online.
Okay, we'll proceed. Mike, we are here. Can you hear us? Are we
I can hear
connected?
you now.
Yes.
Mike Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I have a request for council, and unfortunately, it's a problem. I'm very concerned about public safety tonight. This meeting I felt is appropriate to reschedule. The city's own advisory came out asking people basically not to travel outdoors. So I'm concerned this is impeding the meeting for tonight. Also, I would ask for leave to allow for Zoom participants to comment if they raise their hand out of concern for their safety. So I do have a special request for those that may wish to raise their hand and comment. And I feel it's an appropriate exception for tonight who may not be informed of that. Again, I feel that this was a very fair reason to schedule this, and I hope the meeting can continue simply out of public safety and asking people to traverse Cedar Falls Way. Did have a few other initial comments for tonight. Did want to remind folks that the Board of Health is in the process of a substantial update to on-site septic code revisions. That vote was originally scheduled for Thursday of this week. That is now deferred at least to the end of January. If you have a septic system anywhere in North Bend or nearby, I encourage you to learn more about the code changes. King County wa.gov/OSS/code to learn about those changes. I view there's very little good in this for existing septic system owners and much to be concerned about. The state is also increasing things like minimum lot size. The county will have to adopt these as well. There are a handful of positive changes such as reduced mandatory inspections and a few others such as if you have a gravity system, you can repair it yourself. But the vast majority of these changes are negative, requiring larger septic systems, more advanced treatments, and other things that you really need to pay close attention to. If your property is underneath an acre, please pay attention to that. Note also that the requirements to repair a septic system or replace it for an existing system are slightly more relaxed than for those who might be developing a new property or maybe modifying their property, such as adding a room or ADU. Those systems will have to comply to newer requirements, which are far more stringent. So I encourage you to learn about septic codes, septic system code changes at the county and state level, and pay attention to upcoming votes at Board of Health at end of January. Thank you, and this concludes my comment.
Thank you, Michael. Aaron, do we have anyone else online?
No one else online.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to announcements, presentations, and appointments. Item number 7, AB 24-123, appointment of King County Landmarks Commission. For the past 3 years, Kevin Burrows has been serving as the City of North Bend special member of the King County Landmarks Commission. Kevin has generously agreed to serve another term. as special member, and I'm recommending his reappointment. Councilman Legutov, will you please make that motion?
System keeps moving.
No worries.
All right. Motion. So people can hear me. Motion to approve AB 24-123, confirming the reappointment of Kevin Burrows as a City of North Bend special member to the King County Landmarks Commission, term expiring December 31st, 2027.
Thank you, Alan. Do I have a second? Second. Second. Thank you very much. Motion by Mr. Gotov and seconded by Ms. Christina Rustic. Thank you both. Kevin, will you please join me at the podium? Or come to the podium? I'll join you later. For a pic. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to represent North Bend. This is a great group to work with at the county, and they take it very seriously. And it's always a pleasure to consider the issues that come before them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin. Council, do you have any questions or any comments to make? Yeah, so.
Thank you. Appreciate you stepping up. All of the volunteers we have work a lot of hours, and this is no different. So appreciate you stepping up and taking your time. It's time away from your family to do this work. And we really appreciate it. So thank you again for stepping up and all your work. And so thanks.
Anybody else? Brendan?
I'll echo my colleague's sentiment. Very much appreciate your volunteering for our community. It's great to see people who actually are doing stuff, working, living here, and then taking an extra step to really make us shine elsewhere. So I appreciate you, Kevin, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Hey, Brendan, anybody else? So, okay, Christina.
I'm just going to add my thanks too. I know you wear many hats, and when I saw your name on this, I thought, perfect. Thank you so much.
Terrific. Anybody else? And Kevin, you know how much I appreciate you, so thank you for stepping up again. And please, if I invite you back up to the podium, I hope you don't mind. We're going to reappoint you here. Yeah.
Like a big stick and some
We
kneeling.
do have pictures. No. Usually get a picture, don't we? Well, let's go this way. Council, the motion before you is to approve AB 24-123, confirming the reappointment of Kevin Burrows to City of North Bend special member to the King County Landmarks Commission, term expiring December 31st, 2027. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's hugely unanimous. Okay, let's see, Kevin, at this time, would you, let's get a picture. Anybody have a camera to take a picture? Okay. Breeze at home. Yeah, Aaron stepping.
She's an expert at this.
That too. Okay, moving on to commission and committee reports. Let's see, Mark, CED, Community and Economic Development. Do you have a report for us tonight?
Yes, Your Honor. The CED committee met earlier this afternoon in the adjournment room in the dark, but we persisted mostly. We discussed an ordinance adopting the 2024 comprehensive plan. The land use and housing elements, of course, are before us this evening. This sets the stage for the adoption of the plan in total to come before us the next time we gather in December. We discussed the Meadowbrook Farm Preservation Association memorandum of understanding for docent services and provision of programming and other things, as they no longer are responsible for maintenance of the facility. They still, as an association, have an interest, and this provides some small level of funding from the city. That will be coming before us. We got an update on the 230 Main Affordable Housing project. The staff has been meeting with Related Northwest, and that's moving forward and is exciting. And we received a brief update on the hotel. And that is it. We will, again, I believe, I'm not sure if we meet in December or not, but we'll see. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Elwood, Alan, excuse me.
Mr. El-
Finance Administration.
Mr. Elwood was out, so I took over
Yeah.
for him for a very packed meeting. Thanks to the team we actually got through it pretty quick. We discussed the resolution on tonight's consent agenda about designating the paper of record. We discussed the ordinance we're talking about tonight, the 2025 to 26 budget. We also discussed the ordinance establishing the 2025 property taxes. That's also on this. And then the ordinance amending the solid waste and rate charges, which is also was on the agenda tonight. Housekeeping item, we're required to by our contract to adopt that. And then we discussed amending the 2023 and 2024 biennium budget. And then we ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract. We'll talk about tonight, the decks for repairs and improvements of our council chamber audio visual system. Some of that is required by code that we had to do. And the next one was the tax increment area study. We discussed that and it was a rousing discussion. It was a good meeting and look forward to getting all these things passed on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Gatto and Ms. Rustick, Public Health and Safety.
Thank you, Your Honor. Public Health and Safety Committee met on November 5th at 4 p.m. We received a fire update from Eastside Fire and Rescue. We took a look at the 5-year incident history report, as well as talked about some of the staffing updates that they have. We received a police update and talked about the retail theft discussion that was held on November 6th with the chief and some of the North Bend Downtown Foundation merchants. The chief shared that they were going to have some additional Black Friday patrols out at the outlet mall in effort to be proactive over there. We talked about some staffing updates with the school resource officer position, as well as a new chaplain position, which is a volunteer position with the Snoqualmie Police Department. Then we talked about the King County Jail contract, and then also the public defender's contract that's currently
What?
being gathered in proposal for other public defenders. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Colon, Transportation and Public Works, please.
Yes, we met in council chambers on October 22nd at 4 o'clock. We had a not as big as usual work study or meeting that we usually had. Number one, Mark Regos reminded of an open house for Park Street, Main Avenue intersection improvements and the public outreach. Number two, we talked about motion authorizing professional services contract for PS&E for the Taylor Park Gateway Parks. Number three, we talked about a motion authorizing purchase of a John Deere mower for parks and transportation. And number four, we discussed the Middle Fork Overlook project for transportation. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Back to Alan. We're going to talk about work study,
Thank you.
or you are actually.
Yeah. So on our work study, we did the land use element, the housing element, discussed the 230 Main Affordable Housing Project update, discussed human and community service grants, and that was it.
And while you're at it, would you mind inquiring into the world of Eastside Fire and Rescue for us?
Absolutely. East Side Fire and Rescue met on November 14th. We recognized Director Gloria Hatcher-Mays, who's been on the board for about 8 years. She is moving out of District 10, therefore she can no longer represent District 10. So we recognized her for all of her work and involvement with the agency. We also, one of the highlights of the thing was we approved an agreed orders partnership ILA with the city of Issaquah. That's regarding the PFAS and the properties that have been affected by PFAS. We also put an agenda bill for the apparatus surplus. Then let's review the chief's briefing real quickly. Okay, So during the chief's briefing, he discussed the fact that on Monday, the 11th, that they were closed for Veterans Day. Discussed how the integration between Duvall and Eastside Fire and Rescue is going. We had an update, fire marshal update for everyone, and discussed what we're doing for Highway 18. In fact, Mr. Rigos was mentioned because he's been involved in and made some recommendations about some tunnels, and this is for the second half of Highway 18. The funding that they got was over the amount of what they had anticipated, so they're trying to figure out what they can do to bring the price down to be able to finish that important part of the second half of Highway 18 to try to make that safe. Also discussed the L&I fire program, which is fire injury and illness reduction. Was discussed incredibly busy summer. Several employees who serve on national incidents traveled to Florida and North Carolina to assist in the aftermath of Helene. They work closely with military personnel, county officials, contractors, community members, landowners, and FEMA officials to coordinate response efforts. Their responsibilities included overseeing the installation of temporary bridges on the state and private highways, as well as improving private roads and ensure residential commercials. We're happy everybody came back safe. There was discussed a grant to purchase 49 RIC or SBA's kits that we got from with our partner with Mercer Island. So we've got a bunch of those that we didn't have to pay for. Our team started to do training on a technical rescue with a light rail that goes across I-90. So they're getting training on how to do that, did high angle rescues, auto extractions, and that was about it.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Henderson, Planning, Parks, and Economic Development. Commissions.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Good to see you all today. The Planning Commission last met on October 16th and held a public hearing on amendments to the city's zoning regulations pertaining to where transitional housing and permanent supportive housing are permitted, and eliminating the need for a conditional use permit for such uses. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission provided a recommendation of approval of the amendments. The Planning Commission will next meet tomorrow evening, November 20th, and we'll be holding a public hearing on the amendments to the city's official zoning map and municipal code amendments that correspond with and implement the city's 2024 comprehensive plan update. The Parks Commission met on October 23rd and provided a recommendation to provide $3,000 from their small park improvement budget for costs associated with obtaining images from local photographers for placement on the new trash and recycling cans for downtown. This effort is being coordinated with the North Bend Downtown Foundation. The Parks Commission will next meet this Thursday, November 21st, and will discuss the draft 2025 Parks Commission work plan, which will be brought to the council for presentation in January. The Economic Development Commission met on October 24th and November 14th. At the October 24th meeting, the commission received a final update on the cycling story map to promote mountain, gravel, and road cycling in North Bend in preparation for the World Cup in 2026. The commission also began drafting their 2025 work plan. At the November 14 meeting, the commission reviewed and refined their 2025 work plan with a focus on supporting North Bend's creative economy, working jointly with the Planning Commission to explore process improvements for business signs, and partnering with the Parks Commission to enhance connectivity to downtown through wayfinding and signage. The commission will not meet in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Now we're going to move on to regional committees. Anybody in council have anything to report back? Mr. Tremalata.
SCA PIG committee met on November 13th. No vigorous debate in this one, but three fairly good presentations. First was from the PSRC. They discussed Vision 2050, which is it includes the region's multi-county planning policies, local and regional actions, and a strategy for how and where the region will grow through 2050. Additionally, talked about the transportation plan and the regional safety action plan with regards to roads and safety. The second presentation was by King County Public Health. Director Faisal Khan. This outlaid the 5-year strategic plan for his department, and the highlights there were priority areas including climate and health, emerging threats to the community and health and well-being, information impact, innovation, partnerships, and workforce infrastructure. And the third presentation was on OSS, on-site sewage and septic code revisions for King County. Fairly straightforward with regard to local codes, but thought it was interesting. We have in North Bend, 769 OSS or septic systems, and 483 of them are over 30 years old. So thought that was an interesting footnote, and that is all.
Thank you very much. Any other regional reports? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to our main agenda then. Item 8. Oops, I'm sorry. Councilman Torgerson, I think you have something you'd like to say this moment?
Oh, sure. On AB 24-124, I'm abstaining as to the recommended motion in the agenda bill. If there are any amendments unrelated to my interest in my docket request and my specific properties, I'm able to vote on such amendments, and I intend to do so this evening.
Thank you very much. Item number 8, AB 24-124, resolution authorizing adoption of land use element update for 2024 comprehensive plan. Mr. McCarty, you have that staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Absolutely.
So we're bringing this resolution back to the council following its introduction at the November 5th council meeting. And at that meeting, I provided a summary of the amendments themselves, so I don't need to bring that back up. But what I do want to do is describe a little bit more about the integrated nature of the land use element with the rest of the comprehensive plan and our other functional plans to be able to provide a picture for how we deliver essential services to our citizens. So kind of bring it up to that higher level view of why bringing this element forward is important. So the land use element works together with the city's economic development action plan, our parks element and our parks capital improvement plan, our transportation element and transportation capital improvement plan, the city's sewer comprehensive plan, and many of the other functional plans as an integrated and interdependent whole. So each of these plans provides specific recommended capital improvements that are necessary to support the level of development that's anticipated in the land use element in the city's growth projections. But at the same time, the converse is also true. So those capital improvement plans and those financing plans also rely on the anticipated development anticipated from our growth projections to be able to help fund those critical improvements. So it's really quite an orchestra. So it's multiple different instruments that really need to work together to bring about the song. So in addition to meeting the city's growth targets for consistency with requirements of the GMA and ensuring eligibility for our substantial grant funding that we rely on to implement those capital improvement projects, the comprehensive plan is really our tool for ensuring predictability for the city's future, supporting our long-term fiscal sustainability and establishing our built environment. It helps us to have a solid vision for what lies ahead and to support the needs of both our residents and our businesses in the long term. It demonstrates how we can bring more retail and professional amenities, which were high on the list of residential desires highlighted in the city's 2023 community-wide survey, and for the council adopted economic infrastructure or economic development action plan. It also serves as a vehicle to secure funds to the much needed road and infrastructure improvements and maintenance to support the quality of life that our citizens rely on. So taken together, the land use element serves as the foundation for our comprehensive plan. So staff will be bringing you the full 2024 comprehensive plan amendment package at your December 3rd council meeting in time to meet the city's deadline to submit its overall comp plan amendment before the end of the year. This element is its most central component. The Planning Commission concurred with and recommended the land use element as provided in your packet tonight, and staff also recommended approval of the land use element as presented. So I want to turn it back to the council for further discussion, and I'm happy to address questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCarty. Council, do you have any clarifying questions that have not previously asked? And if so, can I limit you to 2 questions? Ask away. Okay, Brendan.
Thank you, Mike. We met a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago. Mike, Jamie, James, Dean Jesper, and our land use attorney, Bob Peason, if I'm saying that right, Alan Gothelf and Christina Rustanek, and there was a great healthy discussion there. And some of the elements that came up in there were great. So I'm just curious, could you just clarify what are the total number of new homes the entire land use element is making way for? And I know we went through them then, plot by plot. And I'm just wondering if you could clarify the new numbers of homes, and if you could, go down the list of the ones that we discussed at the meeting so that everybody's fully aware of the new housing inventory that we're paving the way for here.
So I understand you're looking for what our deficit is that we need to accommodate to meet our growth targets.
Thank you for adding that. One is the deficit, because there's been some confusion and ambiguity. I believe it's 611, but our total number of inventory that if this gets approved in whole as recommended by staff, I think it's closer to 700. But I'd like if you could clarify that. And then we went through each of the new items that are being requested on here for the recommended changes. And staff provided a great count. Dean went through and summed them all up for us. And I would like my colleagues to hear those numbers as well.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm looking at the land capacity analysis. This is on page 113 of your packet. And there's a income housing target capacity summary. So this breaks down the various targets that we have to meet at 0 to 30% AMI, 30 to 50% AMI, 50 to 80%, 80% to 100 and above. If you look at everything that's below 50% AMI, that is where we are short. We have plenty of capacity for the other types of housing above that level. So the aggregate need that we have to meet our growth targets is 782 units. We have some of that in our existing capacity in zone land that would be zoned to accommodate multifamily housing, which is the type of housing that you'd provide at 0 to 50% AMI. So when you take out that 169 units of existing zoned capacity, we still have a deficit that we need to meet of 611 units. And that's what that's based on our existing 2021 zoning map. So that was then compared against the city's proposed zoning to show that we have sufficient capacity with the revisions proposed. And are you looking for the breakdown of where we've achieved that in the different?
Yes, please. Thank you. Because I also want to clarify that there are items on the land use element that are dockets that actually don't qualify for what our requirements are to meet the capacity. And by meet the capacity, it just simply means we have to have zoning in place so that if a developer wants to develop affordable housing, they can, but there's no guarantee it will be developed that way.
Okay, just give me a second to look through the land capacity analysis here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so on page 118 of your packet, starting with the neighborhood mixed use line there, we gain 191 units. And then 1 unit redevelopable. The neighborhood mixed use is the area that has been changed to neighborhood mixed use in the proposed zoning from what was previously Employment Park 1. And that's because neighborhood mixed use allows second floor residential in a mixed use context. The other amendments, the downtown commercial zone, we pick up 202 potential units. And that's principally from the area between North Bend Way and Cedar Falls Way, up from the roundabout east to where the fire station is. and then also another property over closer to the wastewater treatment plant. The next one is our interchange commercial zone where we pick up 134 units. And the interchange commercial zone currently does not allow any residential. And this allowance is via our pending code amendments that accompany the comp plan. And this amendment would provide a footnote allowing second floor residential at exit 31 within the interchange commercial zone north of Bendigo Boulevard. So specifically the outlet mall property.
And that's the one where we're going back and forth. 5 feet gives us 100 and some odd extra homes. correct?
That one's the IMU.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the next one, the interchange mixed use zone. Currently does allow residential, but it has a 30-foot height limit, which is 5 feet shorter than most of the rest of the city. And so increasing that height limit from 30 feet to 35 feet makes it possible to do 3 stories, a 3-story development, which makes it much more viable for multifamily. And so by doing that, we pick up 136 units. And that then brings us to a total additional capacity of 694 units, which would help us to meet our target or meet our deficit.
And then with the docket additions, those are additional, but they don't count towards that 611. But in the total packet now, we have several dockets or a couple dockets that are asking for residential changes to zoning. How many more units of houses will that provide us? Just general housing units. We don't know affordability.
I guess what specific docket?
Well, if we're changing EP2 zoning, and there's some parcels in there that are trying to get low density residential in, how many units, what's the housing inventory if that change in that EP2 zoning is to occur?
Yeah, so that is, so again, this is capacity numbers. This doesn't necessarily mean what can actually occur once you've done all your analysis of critical areas and floodplain and everything else that goes into what goes into a development. But the capacity shown for that was 37 units.
Okay. 37 units. Are there any other areas that have been introduced into here that we should be aware of as far as new inventory?
No, that's it. Then that is what brings us up to our 694 additional units with the revised zoning.
Okay, thank you. And then my next clarifying question.
I raised a point of order. I thought the mayor suggested that we be limited to 2 questions each on this round. Is that true?
I did.
I think we're probably in excess of 2.
We're there. Yes.
We're in excess of 2?
Yes. We're talking 11.
There's a parcel on the map to the west of town that is, I think maybe Councilman Elwood's referring to EP1 that is currently or proposed for LDR, low density residential. Don't want to put you on the spot. However, are you aware or was there ever a development agreement made between a owner of that land and the city of North Bend in and around 2006 for 150 townhomes or apartment use for residential?
Well, that was long before my time here, so I'm just vaguely aware of it,
Okay.
but not familiar with it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? No? Okay, if any members of the audience would like to comment on this agenda item, we would invite you to come forward at this time, to the podium at this time. Hello again.
Hi. So my name is Hannah Teal. I'm at 1366 Bandera Avenue. I'm also a member of the Planning Commission, but of course, first and foremost, a resident of North Bend. And I have to tell you, I love planning and I love community, which really makes North Bend a great place to live. So honestly, thank you for taking an extra week to review the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is the main event for long-range planning. And while good ideas come and can happen quickly, great ideas and plans, require more review. So thank you for this consideration. I used to work as a planner for a city that had extensive redevelopment to do because planning wasn't done properly years before it was incorporated. So I was wary about the comprehensive plan because it means a lot. But I truly want the plan to represent who we were as a city, who we are as a city, and who we will become as a city. We have such a rich history to protect, a new culture to welcome, all while maintaining the integrity of who and what North Bend is. And I believe that this plan does that. This was a plan made with time and consideration, with multiple hands in the pot that the planners here have navigated very beautifully. I voiced concern in the Planning Commission meeting over the zoning change that happens concurrently with this update. But with more research and information from our very talented and knowledgeable Mr. McCarty, who's over planning, I was able to understand that to meet the state required housing numbers, the new proposed zoning map had to be included. The old one just didn't give us the potential numbers needed by the state. These numbers don't mean that developers are going to line up to develop. And honestly, those numbers also help us to protect some of our natural resources. And this is something that a lot of states in our nation don't do. And I love that Washington does that. I would much rather get to know my neighbor from the waist up and very well, so that I can have miles of trails that I can go use. I love that. And I think that a lot of residents here love Washington for that purpose. And I think North Bend really shows that. I support the plan wholeheartedly and look forward to reviewing the regulatory code change that initiates the new code in tomorrow's Planning Commission meeting. And while regulatory changes need to be in line with the comprehensive plan, the regulatory changes are what give the ideas teeth. The regulatory changes are what influence development in the day-to-day operations, and there's more time for that. The comprehensive plan really allows us some framework to work within, but there's more time for more ideas. Trying to go quick. So now is the time we make sure we adhere to Washington State Legislature and receive opportunities to apply for grants. And I do believe that this will help us do that and keep planning for the future with the funds that we need. Thank you.
Great night. Anybody else? Welcome.
Hello,
Hello.
Jerry Taylor Swade, 14220 436th Avenue Southeast, North Bend. Thank you for saying that, what you did, and comprehensive plans have to be done, right? And I, as a person that lives in North Bend, I moved here because it's a small town and I want it to stay a small town. I also understand that we have to have growth at the same time. So anything that you guys plan, I hope that you keep in mind the character and what North Bend is and what it stands for in this state, because people love to come to North Bend. And if we just turn into another suburb of Seattle that has, did you say 3-story building? A 3-story apartment building? Yikes. I don't like that part. But you guys are smarter than me. You've done all the research. I just know that that 2 of the elements that you were talking about tonight need to be passed tonight so that next month you can pass the whole comprehensive plan. And because North Bend gets a lot of grants, it would make sense that you would do this so that the money is still coming in and that you don't have to repay the $165,000 in grants that the state gave you if you don't get the comp plan done. So I just want to say I appreciate all of your work. Every one of you is so important, and I don't envy your job because there's a lot of elements that come into this. We're talking about elements tonight, but I'm talking people that have a lot of different opinions. And I just hope that you just keep North Bend, North Bend. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Yee. Welcome, Mr. Yee.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Yee. I live at 12117 Southeast 261st Court, Kent, Washington. First of all, I'd like to thank all the members of the Planning Commission, the Planning Department, the Community Economic and Development Department for their efforts, hard work and thoughtfulness in preparing the updated comprehensive land use and housing element plans. Thanks also to City Manager David Miller, Public Works Director Mark Rios, and Mayor Mary Miller for their time and spending with me speaking with me about my property before. And last but not least, for the time input that I received from some members of the city council discussing my property. That being said, my company is the owner of the 24-acre property located on the end of Northwest 8th Street down the road across from Nintendo's property on the west side. It's a property that Council Member Tremolata just recently referenced as far as a rezone. I think I'm hoping. I like to think that I'm a thoughtful real estate investor and developer. I just finished entitlements for a 13-lot project in the city of Kent, worked with them for 5 years. And so I think everyone's happy there. I've owned the property here in North Bend since January 2018. I worked with the aforementioned departments or parties here in North Bend since 2019 to try and create some economic value out of my property, in conjunction, financial benefit to the city by creating economic opportunities on the west side of town. I actively supported the Meadowbrook ULID by contributing funds toward the initial toward the cost of the initial appraisal to kickstart the approval process. With the approval of the ULID and access to sewer lines, there's now the potential to develop or redevelop both commercial and residential real estate projects within the Meadowbrook district. Without sewer, development was limited to smaller individual projects relied upon septic tanks and water well system for those utilities, neither of which was particularly good for the environment, including among others, potential contamination of groundwater. The proposed development projects in the Meadowbrook district will still require infrastructure to resolve the stormwater drainage issues, but now there's an opportunity to create impactful economic benefit in that area to the city, whereas before there's virtually no opportunity to create a significant value-added economic benefit. That will also, the Meadowbrook ULID will also help geographically balance out development in the city, whereas most of the development up to date has been located downtown east side. I'm also supportive of the proposed Northwest 8th Street Gardner Creek Box Culvert ULID. Those improvements will serve to support the development of the adjacent larger scale commercial development, as well as improved roadway access to my property. My property will be tax assessed to help pay for those, for both aforementioned ULIDs. My dilemma is to create economic value added by development to pay for those property assessments. Over the past few years, I've brought forth information to the city about special issues surrounding my particular property, including, among others, topography, steep elevations, wetland, other critical areas.
Apologize to cut you off.
Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, I'm hoping that there's more thought, or the thoughtfulness has been in the land use element and housing element by the city planning and city planning commission and city planning department will be rewarded with your vote to approve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else, Aaron, online? Possibly, if we don't have anyone in the room.
Michael Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Michael? You're on.
I'm on now. Sorry, it takes a few moments to unmute as the host prevents participants from unmuting themselves. Mike Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I wanted to express concerns about the land use element in a few areas. For one, I appreciate the introduction on septic systems by the staff person speaking earlier. There's definitely more than 700 plus of them in the city. And there's also quite a few nearby in areas the city has never annexed, like Riverbend, as well as the areas, south of, Opstead, towards, Rattlesnake and all that. There's quite a few of them. One of the stark realities, though, is that, for one, I don't see R4 or 4 acres per 4 homes per acres as attainable in the plan in any part of the city where the city is unsewered. So that immediately means that, you know, LDR, you have fewer homes where you can build because there's simply no sewer there. Again, the minimum state requirement today is 12,500 square feet for a lot with septic systems. That is increasing to 13,000. So immediately one might need to trim off, you know, LDR targets wherever there's no sewer. So that is a bit of a concern in sort of trimming off that. And again, I don't feel there's too many people clamoring for more housing in the city, but simply as a matter of precision out of the land use element, if there's any targets associated with that, that needs to be addressed. Additionally, as I mentioned, Riverbend, some of the other areas, those are outside city limits, but within the UGA. I feel for a long time, these targets should be part of our growth targets. There are 800 to 900 homes that are inside the UGA, but outside city limits that would be targeted for the city of North Bend. There goes all your residential development that you possibly ever need. I'm kind of tired of this city and county beating around the bush in terms of annexing these areas. Again, I view as there's not a lot of support for this, but this is implied growth that has been held outside of the city limits. And it's very important that we address it at some point in the future. Lastly, there's an equity component of the land use element that concerns me. And I've been working with the county now for the past year on septic code revisions. And one of the key areas is that septic systems have been put in areas that have been subject to areas of past racial discrimination and left out of sewer. I'd also say that the cost of sewer relative to septic is astronomical. It's more than 2.5 times an OSS. Folks with septics need help in terms of they have to maintain them, whether or not sewer's just simply not here. There's important policy changes to actually allow OSSs to win, but folks need more help in the area of maintaining their OSSs, and I encourage the city to actually apply for assistance to help people with existing OSS. This concludes my comment, and I may have further at subsequent meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Anybody else online, Erin?
Not at this time.
Thank you for that. I believe this came through Community and Economic Development. Mr. Jocelyn, would you please make the motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve AB 24124, a resolution authorizing adoption of the land use element for the 2024 North Bend Comprehensive Plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion made by Mr. Jocelyn, second by Mr. Tremolata. Mr. Jocelyn, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Sure. I appreciate all the time, effort, and hard work that's brought us to this point. After our last meeting, I continued to do my homework and learned more about the planning process, and watching a video from the MRSC, who provides guidance to folks like us, you know, specifically tailored to unelected officials. I was struck by a couple things right out of the gate. It's a visioning process. It's intended to bring people together and create a sense of unity and community, I would say. Now, of course, that's a tall order, especially these days. But it's important, and that's the process that's been engaged in that has brought us to this point. Multiple hearings. The Planning Commission, we had a member come kindly speak to us tonight about their commitment, all volunteer, dozens of hours, hundreds of hours, to bring us to this point in conversation with each other and staff and council, looking for lessons going forward. Better participation perhaps would be, or more participation would be better, but that's on us. And then the second piece, so once the comprehensive plan is approved, that puts you in competition with other entities for funding. That's the whole point right there. The top of the slide, the reason we do this is, to be competitive. And the folks who are going to decide, and rank, order, and disperse the funds are the same people to whom we're submitting a comprehensive plan. What comes to mind is, if you're a student, why intentionally turn your homework in late? It's not going to do anybody any good. You're testing the evaluator. You're shooting yourself in the foot. I had a nephew, got a job, showed up late for work one day and was fired, and thought, oh my goodness, Well, my response is, why show up late? Don't, why test those things when you're putting yourself at risk? And of course, the analogy here is the financial health and well-being of the city. The comprehensive plan, as stated by Mr. McCarty, is the, heart and soul of the comprehensive plan update. It creates eligibility for this city to fund the projects that I think we would all agree to help address the growth that is here and coming. And it's called the Growth Management Act for a reason. Another speaker came forward and acknowledged the important, how it is that this sort of agreement that people live in the cities means that outside the cities, there are areas outside the cities. There's places that aren't cities, all kinds of places that we value and benefit from. And that's a big deal. So acknowledging the commission and the staff and the volunteer efforts. Right, the process started with a vision. It ends up making us eligible for funding to $12 million over 4 years, we heard. And so to diminish our possibility of successfully competing for those funds makes it worse. I think we could all agree that that would make it worse. Mr. McCarty used the term, it's an orchestra. I would use a symbiotic relationship between this and the land use plan and the adoption of this plan overall by us as a body. I am anxious to vote in favor of moving this forward, adopting it, and continuing to work with fellow council to make it better over time. If we're late to be in conversation, at least we've begun to be in conversation, and that I'm very supportive of. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Tremolo, would you like to add anything?
Sure. A couple points. I having some background in this world, process matters. Process is key. There's a lengthy process. I'm in a unique position to have started on the planning commission when this process started, and now I'm sitting here near the end of it. So I have a great respect for the planning commission and the commissioners that are still there that I worked with and the ones that I've gotten to know over time. Albeit a volunteer position, I do know that there's vigorous debate and strong opinions on that group. They represent a large swath of our town, various neighborhoods. So I think I don't take their recommendation lightly. I take it seriously. And from my understanding from the previous packet, it was voted on unanimously. So through the public hearings, the public comment, the meetings themselves, and the debate of the planning commission, I trust those individuals. I don't see any objections to the plan myself as it stands. I trust that when they recommend the council, our town works a little bit differently. Many planning commissions out there have authority. Ours is a recommending body, and that's fine, but I take it seriously when they make a recommendation. Additionally, we've passed a bullish capital improvement plan that I'm excited about, and I think our taxpayers are excited about, and I think albeit elected officials and public officials, one of our biggest jobs is to be fiduciaries of our taxpayers' dollars, and any dollars that we can add to the coffer to make those TPW projects and other capital projects come to reality is really first and foremost our job. So I agree with Councilmember Jocelyn. I'm bullish on the plan. I would like to support it as soon as possible.
Mr. Tremolata, any other additional council wish to comment? Mr. Elwood.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I agree with the sentiments from my colleagues here, but I would also like to make a motion to amend figure 1.2 land use designation map to revise the land use designation from residential to employment park, consistent with the city's current land use designation, and amend figure 1.4 proposed zoning map from low density residential to business park, consistent with the city's current zoning designation as renamed from Employment Park 1 to Business Park.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Thank you. Certainly. So the amendment that I'm proposing here specifically is on the change of the employment park that we were talking about a moment ago, where Mr. McCarty provided a count of potentially 37 new homes in capacity in that area. I think this needs to stay employment park. One of the initiatives of our city is we've been focusing on commercial development, which I think is the right development. not residential. This particular land use element, I'm fine with nearly everything in here except for residential expansion, which is what I think this is. So I'm asking that council keeps the employment park zoning as is in that area. Also, I'd like to ask our legal to respond to Mr. Tremolata's question during clarifying questions regarding any sort of legal restrictions or arrangements or agreements with this particular, with any property owner over there that have been made that could be put us at risk or is that or is an issue. Are there any agreements with the property owner that you are aware of right now in that area for any future development?
I am not aware of any contractual agreement with the property owners at this time. I'd love to research my files and get back to you with a complete answer, but that's my answer at this time.
Thank you. So that is the motion that I'm presenting to you. And then I do support the land use element, all the other parts. I'm just asking that we keep that particular zoning as is for now.
Okay, Mr. Belton. You say?
Just, I understand where he's going and I do have a concern. It was an area that we discussed when we did the ULID and not wanting to change that, and had a lot of people come forward and say, not wanting to see more single family homes in that area. I do realize you need affordable homes. I wish there was more teeth we could put on the affordable home. But I do appreciate this motion.
Okay, any other, I guess?
Can I just respond to him?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. One of the parts that we got out of our conversation last week, specifically on affordable housing, which is why I was challenging this particular land use, is that we don't really have any guarantee of affordable housing. So I'll be bringing a motion for future tentative agendas to approve an affordable housing analysis at our next meeting, which I thought was a very fine direction to move in with respect to compromising to my concerns that we're not actually securing any affordable housing at this time. Thank you.
Yes,
I'd like to speak to the amendment.
but you may.
Yeah, my concern is, in a sense, private property rights. My understanding of having done my research, spoken with Mr. Yee, as he has stated, and I take him at his word, he is trying to strike some balance and yet be able to realize an economic return on his investment. He has helped the city do a study to bring the ULID to that part of town. He's been, participated in helping again the city and support its efforts in this regard. He's the sort of person I think the city would like to engage with and do business with. He's been in conversation with the planning folks and staff and followed, in fact, if I'm understanding correctly, their advice and insights in moving forward towards this end, such that he's hoping to, see a return on his investment. This is a docket request that the city is respected to at least provide a hearing to. That's part of land use being zoning being separated from politics largely in this state, which is somewhat unique. But I plan to vote against the amendment simply out of respect for the plan that's been brought forward intact to us, and a belief as I've spoken to about the interests of the landowner. Thank you.
Mr. Tremolata.
Yeah, I have a couple issues with the amendment. One, as I spoke to previously, process is a long and lengthy process. There's public hearing, public comment, multiple planning commission meetings. I've received no communication from planning. As I said, it was unanimously voted through as is. I know that the planning commission isn't a voting body with authority, but having been a former planning commissioner, I don't feel great about telling the planning commission, thanks for your work, but we're going to go a different way than you recommend. I trust their deliberation and their work. I also feel, to be honest, fairly uncomfortable singling out a single property owner on this when there's multiple dockets included in this plan. I don't think that sends the great optics to the public, to other landowners out in North Bend that we want to invest in our community, that we may cherry pick who we want or not to do business with based on whatever predispositions of a former council. I do think EP1 makes sense on the west side of town. I'll say this specific parcel, from what I understand from planning, is significantly up on the ridge area. Having a background in what I do, that's a very difficult place to put commercial, outside of potentially blowing up side of the hill, which I don't really think I would want. I don't think our neighbors in the tribe would want. I don't think our community would want to see. So as I understand the concerns, I think this individual has done their work. They've done due diligence. They've shown to the city that they've attempted multiple times over years to try to pull something out of the ground. It's not a fly-by-night developer. This person didn't buy the property, at the beginning of the year and ask for a request to change it to residential, which I think I would treat very differently than the facts that are on the table now. So I agree with Councilmember Jocelyn, and I want to lean on my planning commission and all the work that they've done. I support the plan as is, and I won't support the amendment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? Right.
I take exception that it's not part of the process. Part of the process is for this council to deliberate what's going on. Prior councils have looked at this and had issues with adding sprawl to the west side. We also understand that additional single family homes cost us money, and we're in budget prices right now. So will this create an issue? I'm not sure, but this is part of the process. I want to make it clear that this is part of the process and we're not changing the process. And it should be debated and voted up or down based upon what this council decides.
Am I missing anybody?
I just wanted to add a clarifying point. I believe that there are, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there are actually 3 property owners within that space. So we are not singling out a single property owner with this motion.
That is correct. There are 3 affected properties in this overall revision.
I believe it's 2 owners, 3 properties, 2 owners.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? I think I got everybody. Okay, motion before us is to approve AB 24-124.
Oh, Your Honor,
Sorry.
pardon me.
Thank you for that. It was
What's
emphatic.
before us is the amendment.
Excuse me. I don't have that. I don't have that in front of me. I definitely don't have that in front of me. I would appreciate it. Thank you for that. All right, motion to amend figure 1.2 land use designation map to revise the land use designation from residential to employment park consistent with the city's current land use designation, and to amend figure 1 to 4 proposed zoning map from low density residential to business park consistent with the city's current zoning designation as renamed from employment park 1 to business park. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Aye.
Okay,
Or no.
that amendment does fail and we move on. Okay, thank you, everybody. And thanks for this. Okay, now I'm going back. Okay, now we're gonna go bounce back to what I was saying earlier. The motion before us is to approve it.
Your Honor, I think you might want to entertain more conversation if there is any.
You know what? I would love that. Thank you very much. I'm listening to the winds around me and it's affecting me. Anybody else like to make a comment? Okay, just resting.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you. So yes, back to the comprehensive plan for the land use. So this plan definitely it includes significant changes to the zoning, both inside and outside city limits, which is, if not managed, can impact the quality of life of all of our residents. One of the goals of this plan is to increase opportunity for affordable housing, which I do support. I had concerns regarding the location of some of the zone changes for this housing as it relates to traffic and utilities, the Les Schwab roundabout as an example. However, I have been assured by city staff that traffic and utilities were taken into consideration in developing this plan and mitigation options are available. With approval of this plan for the December 2024 deadline, I plan to ensure that conversations and concerns raised by myself and some of my colleagues will be brought forward for further discussion and action as allowed in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, ready to roll? What? Yes.
Thank you. And to echo on that, you know, I appreciated staff's time and some of my colleagues' time meeting a week before last and working out our concerns on affordable housing and knowing that James is very on it as far as let's get some action together on future agendas. Let's talk about process and things like that. I'm really excited about what next year will bring. And as a result, even though I'm disappointed that the zoning change is still happening on that one parcel, I will be voting in favor of the land unit, land element, because I've gotten assurances from staff that we will be definitely looking at affordable housing and how to actually make that work for our community, as opposed to this mythical creature that we're supposed to be creating capacity for, but there's no guarantee of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the motion before us is to approve AB 24-124, resolution authorizing adoption of the land use element for the 2024 North Bend Comprehensive Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Okay, one opposition, Mr. Gottoff, and 6. We're all here. One abstention, excuse me. 5 to 1. Thank you very much. It does pass. Item number 9, AB 24-125, a resolution authorizing adoption of housing element update for 2024 comprehensive plan. Mrs. Burrell, would you please provide that report for us?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Before you tonight is the housing element update for the 2024 comprehensive plan. As we have discussed, this update really started in early 2022 with our efforts on the housing needs assessment and housing action plan. We conducted a community survey and we received around 435 responses. And at that time, we also had numerous open houses and workshops and engagement with the school. And over the last 2 years, and also 2 council work studies earlier in 2024 for a total of 3 this year. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made their recommendations September 18th to council for approval of this element. The city was tasked by the state legislature to identify sufficient capacity of land to accommodate all projected housing needs over the next 20 years. And as we've discussed, this city showed a deficit of 611 units within that very low and extremely low income bracket. So we needed to show that we could accommodate the housing in those income brackets and provide permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, emergency housing, and emergency shelters. And we added goals and policies which focused the element on those items. And our work was to plan for and accommodate the units. The city is not required to ensure that these are built. These will not all be built. It's a exercise to reduce barriers and to enable housing if it were to come and to take our share of the county's demand that they're calculating. So the land capacity analysis, which we talked about, was provided, showing that the zoning changes in the land use element work together with the housing element to increase the units for those different income brackets. Staff worked with the state and county agencies to ensure we were consistent with the Growth Management Act, HB 1120 and 1337, and the countywide policies. And we worked with the Affordable Housing Committee of King County, the Puget Sound Regional Council, the Department of Commerce. We have somebody on the line joined if there's any questions as well, if she's still there. Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Snoqualmie Tribe, and we utilized consultants. And this was a ton of work. So we want to thank all those who contributed, Planning Commission included, to this milestone for the housing element 2024 comprehensive plan update. So any questions? Happy to entertain them.
Thanks, Ms. Burrell. Any questions from council? Clarifying questions. Could you hold them to 2 questions? Please. No? Okay, if any members of the audience would like to comment on this agenda item, we would invite you to come to the podium at this time. If you have a request accommodation with our city clerk and wish to speak, please raise your hand through the virtual platform and we will accommodate you. Is that okay? Come on. Pardon me. And welcome again.
I just can't get enough of you guys.
Great. We love you.
Hannah Teal, 1366 Bandera Avenue, Southeast. And I'll keep this brief, but As a planning commissioner, as we reviewed this, it was just very seamless. It's a really beautiful policy document. There's a lot of effort put in and it really shows. You know, I really look forward to recommending many more regulatory amendments, but this as a policy one was just, it felt like a slam dunk for us in the planning commission. So we just look forward to the future and future funds that the grants might bring in if this passes. Thank you.
You, Hannah. Anybody else who might be present who'd like to come to a podium? Okay. I think we'll-
Michael Thomas is online.
Hi, Michael, you're on.
Mike Thomas here, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I have a few comments actually about the housing element. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, affordability is very important for our existing residents. And really the affordability of our existing stock, you know, whether that means, you know, low density residential, various neighborhoods, you know, throughout the city, both sewered and particularly unsewered, which I do want to emphasize on considering the nature of, we still have, I believe when the council member said, you know, more than 700 of the OSSs remaining in the city. One of the things I've been working with the county on is also the Equitable Wastewater Treatment Futures Initiative. And there's a stunning conclusion about sewer versus OSS. An unsubsidized sewer conversion is $84,000. This is what the property owner might be faced with, or as a combination of subsidies. An OSS replacement, meaning rip and replace of the OSS and its tanks, is $41,000. An OSS repair is $6,000. I personally am kind of wondering about whether or not there's funds countywide and citywide to address and the affordability of sewering. I know that sewering has been proposed for Silver Creek. You know, certainly funds have been applied for, but I'm very concerned about the affordability of keeping our existing residents in place in their neighborhoods, seniors, that folks, if they're faced with a sewer conversion, are faced with an unsubsidized cost of $84,000, and that when you even apply for subsidies, you're competing against clean water and drinking water and 319 and other funds that may go a lot further and are being consumed by the extremely high cost of sewering relative to the effective and safe proper use of an OSS and its full replacement of $41,000. In other words, we can help a lot more people with the same money by keeping OSSs versus sewer. And this is a key point. People need to keep the OSSs for reasons of continuity of their existing neighborhoods. I have concerns about gentrification and displacement for sewering such as Silver Creek and other areas around that. No doubt there are challenges to keep here, but I do want folks to keep in mind of the incredible costs of this, and that we need to do more to help our OSS community keep their existing homes, maintain and replace. I simply don't see the equivalent vigor to apply for funding and grants for people with OSS relative to sewer. So I would hope that you would consider that. And I have a challenge with the housing element in that it doesn't do enough to help people keep in their homes with OSS. Thank you, and this concludes my comment.
Thank you very much. Anybody else online?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Jocelyn, this came through CED again. Would you like to make the motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve AB 24-125, a resolution authorizing adoption of the housing element for the 2024 North Bend Comprehensive Plan.
And do we have a second? Okay, motion by Mr. Jocelyn and second by Ms. Colin. Mr. Jocelyn, would you like to comment on your motion?
It's all an orchestra. I'll be voting in support. I appreciate Commissioner Thiel coming forward, and yeah, appreciate all the hard work and effort that's gone into this over the past couple of years. Thank you.
Cue the strings. Okay, Ms. Colin, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I was also happy to hear from Ms. Thiel that she really likes this policy, that it's seamless. And it's a beautiful thing. That's nice to hear. And so I look forward to it.
Wonderful. Any additional council comments? Anybody? No? Okay, motion before us is to approve AB 24-125, a resolution authorizing adoption of the housing element for 2024 North Bend Comprehensive Plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item number 10, AB 24-126, public hearing ordinance adopting 2025 to 2026 biennial budget. I do believe you have Mr. Chaw online. Is that correct? I hear you.
Okay, great.
There you are.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Hi, Martin.
Hi there.
Thank you.
All
Take it
right.
away, Martin, when you're ready.
All right, will do. Can everyone see the first slide here in AB 24-126?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So I'll be covering the next 4 items. This first item, council, is again for adoption of the 25-26 budget. As you know, City Council is required to biennially approve the citywide budget and establish the salary schedule for the following year. In this case, is 2025. We in our last meeting, we did discuss the 2025-26 budget, which includes community service grants, and I'll review that with you here in a moment. Also associated with this ordinance is the 2025 property tax. And this will be discussed as the next item, AB 24-127, as well as funding for the AVIDEX council chamber audiovisual improvements that Councilman Gotthealth mentioned, and that's included as AB 24-128. As Councilman Gotthealth mentioned, this was reviewed by committee on November 12th. And it was reviewed and unanimously approved for public hearing tonight. And this is scheduled for adoption on December 3rd. Just as a reminder, in terms of council's budget review, as you can see, we started way back on September 3rd with an initial general fund financial forecast. We continued with a review of the utilities budget, the Eastside Fire and Rescue budget, the CIP, as well as an updated general fund financial forecast, as well as an overview of property taxes. And on October 22nd, we did go over the human services grants. And again, this item is up before you as a public hearing. And again, it's scheduled for adoption on December 3rd. In terms of guiding principles, I won't go over this in detail, but again, our budget was developed with a long-term focus in mind, establishing a foothold for the city in terms of financial sustainability, as well as fully funding operational and capital needs. Yeah, as well as maintaining our reserves, both within the general fund and utilities, and maintaining our city's credit rating. The budget that's before you is unchanged from as what's shown here from October 10th. We show a gradual decline in our general fund ending fund balance, at which point it reaches the target levels for the fund balance. In terms of how the 25-26 budget compares, this stacked bar chart on the right represents the 25-26 budget and the requested appropriations by fund family versus the 23-24 budget. The green, the green section here represents the general fund. The purple section here represents the special revenue funds. And the reason why this is declining is that some of the funds that are held within the impact fee are being used to support the CIP. And the CIP is shown here in orange. And as you can see, that program is growing and reflects the many initiatives that we have within the city's capital improvement program, including transportation and park improvements. The utilities appropriations is decreasing here, and that primarily reflects the budgeting of the wastewater treatment plant that was constructed in the or budgeted in the 23-24 budget, and that's been completed. And then the last section here are the internal service funds. And as you can see, that's a very small portion of the biennial budget. The utility rate increases, we do have that budgeted as a 5.5% increase in the first year, 2.5% for the sewer utility, and no increases for the stormwater utility. And as you're aware, we do have a utility rate study underway that will set rates or look at reevaluating rates, rate adjustments over the next several years. The human services grants, again, for the listening public, the 2024 budget level was 249,000. For 2025, that budget is retained at 249,000, and for 2026 is preliminary budgeted at 249,000 as well. And we'll have further clarity as to the distributions of 2026 funds as the city's funding for police services becomes clearer. So I'll pause there. Are there any questions on AB 24-126?
Any questions? No? Please proceed when you're ready, Martin. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. AB 24-127, this is an ordinance establishing the 2025 property taxes.
Point of order, Your Honor, I'm sorry. So are we not voting on Agenda Bill 126 and moving it and so forth? I mean, it is just to approve to continue the public hearing, but it is for before us as though we need to act on it. Is that true?
No, Councilman, it's here as it's for public hearing, and the public hearing will be continued through December 3rd. And then on December 3rd, the city council will take action on adopting this ordinance.
So we're now moving to the next agenda item.
No, you're going to hold a public hearing and then you're going to make a motion to continue it to December 3rd. It's in the bottom of the agenda bill.
Correct.
But Martin was about to move on to AB 127, which is the next agenda bill before we voted on this one. This is my question.
Get that. Okay. We're opening. Okay, we can open up. The public hearing on ordinance adopting the 2025 to 2026 biennial budget is now open. Any members of the public would like to comment during our public hearing, we would invite you to come forward to the podium at this time. You have a requested accommodation with our city clerk and wish to speak, please raise your hand on the virtual platform and we'll accommodate you and take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak for the record. Anybody? Okay, welcome again.
Hello, do I need to say my name again? Okay, Jerry Taylor Swade, 14220 436th Avenue Southeast, North Bend. I just have a question that has to do with the budget. So I was at a city council meeting several times ago when the discussion came up about police and that you guys were going to do a study, that you voted to pay for a study, and that you were going to decide what to do as far as moving forward with having Snoqualmie still provide the police services, or if you were going to look at something else. Is that part of the budget that you're passing tonight?
No.
No, it's not. So it's a separate part of the budget, or?
Am I to respond to this?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we are not to respond.
Okay, so I was just wondering because I didn't see anything about that, about the police services, and I just was confused because I know that you as a council were looking into that and deciding what to do. So that's what I just was wanting to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anybody else?
Michael Thomas online.
Thank you. Hi, Michael.
Mike Thomas, 1231 LaForest. Speak a moment again on the budget, and thanks for the excellent reminder and introduction. I have two comments on the CIP, which appears to be growing and quite significantly slow. And I might suggest a trimming. My previous comment was about two water projects that I believe may still be there, and I invite council to correct me or staff to correct me if they still are present in the budget. One of which was the city water extension for what was previously the National Guard project, which now may turn into something else. As we know, the water agreement between Salal and the city is proceeding. Infrastructure is being built. I would really strongly suggest that the line item be removed for extending city water service out towards Trucktown. That to me is clearly duplication of facilities, contrary to the agreement and many other things. If I recall, that was a substantial price tag associated with that. And I think it should go out of, expression of commitment and faith in your agreement. The second thing I wanted, and there was also another water project, which I believe may no longer be necessary, such as realizing the former golf course water as a source of water, which may not be necessary. Again, just trying to find things in the budget that might be helpful to us, long-term capital. I wanted to also comment about a proposed plan to extend sewer to Silver Creek. And if I recall the past discussion, it was a $15 million grant was applied for, but the estimate of that was $20 million. That already represents a $5 million cost overrun, which the residents of Silver Creek, and there's about 250, will have to bear in terms of sewering. These folks have OSS. I think folks need to really take a pause to think about the impact to their community and the impact to them if sewer arrives there, and of course, if not, and also risks of gentrification and displacement. Again, the stability of neighborhoods is very important. Folks, in my mind, tend to appreciate their existing neighborhoods, and the cost of sewer would be a great concern to that neighborhood. So please consider that also in the future plan. But specifically, I would hope that the city would remove, in particular, the two water projects that I mentioned earlier. And if staff or council would ask of staff, Councilor Mayor knows what may be there, I would appreciate it. And this concludes my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The public hearing will remain open until December 3rd, our council meeting then. So Council Member Elwood, through Finance and Administration, would you please make that motion?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark and I were reaching for the trigger at the same time. Motion to approve AB 24-126 to continue the public hearing and move forward for second reading at the December 3rd, 2024 City Council meeting, the ordinance adopting the 2025-2026 biennial budget.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Motion made by Mr. Elwood. Second by Mr. Jocelyn. Mr. Elwood, would you like to comment about your motion?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Jocelyn, would you like to add? Okay, thank you very much. The motion before us is to, council, anybody have any questions or any comments? Okay, good. The motion before us is to approve AB 24-126 to continue the public hearing and move forward for second reading at the December 2024 City Council meeting. The ordinance adopting 2025-2026 biennial budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Boy, that was unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Item number 11, EB 24-127, public hearing continued. Ordinance setting 2025 property tax levy. Mr. Chaw, if you're still online with us, I see you up there.
Yes, I'm still online.
Please continue.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Just FYI, Mayor,
Yes.
my power here flickered just for a moment and I lost connection. I was able to jump back on, but if it happens again, I'll ask Elaine to go ahead and pick up where I left off.
That's a great backup plan. Thank you very much, Martin.
Great, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
In council, for the record, Martin Shaw, Finance Director. AB 24-127 establishes the property taxes for 2025. The city is required to annually approve an ordinance establishing property taxes for the subsequent year. The information in that ordinance is used by King County to calibrate the levy rate for next year. When this ordinance was previously presented to you, staff presented three options. Option one, recommendation to include a 1% increase, which is allowed under state law. Option number two is to not approve a 1% increase, and also to not bank the capacity. And then option number three is to do not approve the 1% increase, but bank the capacity for future use. Staff did review this with the Finance Administration Committee on November 12th. Excuse me, and the committee did unanimously approve option number one, but it also requested that the increase in the funds under option one would be earmarked for public safety. In terms of the impact to a typical home in North Bend, for a home that's valued at about $980,000, as you can see, the estimated local property taxes is worth about $861 a year, $805. Hello? Okay. Oh, are you still there, Mayor? Hello? Oh. Hi, Mayor. Are you still there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
I think it's time for a pinch hitter here.
Hello?
Oh, I apologize in advance if I interrupt Martin. What Martin was saying here is that the option one with an increase would add, I think about $7 difference between option two, which is not increasing the property levy tax, and option three then would be to increase with not provide an increase, but do provide for the bank. So there are three different options for us. If you look at the next slide, I don't know if you guys have the ability to move the slides back here. Aha, there we go. So this just shows you a quick look at what that annual tax for a $977,000 valued home would be annually. The portion that comes to the city of North Bend is $861 should we accept in the 1% as opposed to banking or not accepting the 1%. Move on. Okay, I think that's it. And so there we go. Thank you. I think we need to go back one more. Sorry. There we go. So that is what's before us, and I have no additional summary or statement.
Okay, thank you, Elaine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Martin, there still? Can you even hear us?
Hi,
Martin, can you?
hi there, Mayor. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Elaine
Okay,
stepped
okay.
in. Did a
All right,
great job.
thank you so much, Elaine. You're a lifesaver. Thank you, Elaine. But anyway, this ordinance is up for council adoption tonight. Under state law, the city is required to adopt next year's property tax ordinance before November 30th. So that concludes my comments, Mayor. I'll turn it back over to you to call for a vote on AB 24-127.
Thank you very much. Public hearing on the ordinance setting the 2025 property tax levy is now closed. Councilmember Elwood from Finance Administration.
Mayor, do you want to ask if any of the citizens would like to comment on this before you close the public hearing?
How lovely of me. Absolutely. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to this? Please come to the podium at this time and we'll be happy to state your name and your address and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm Rachel Johnston. I reside at 1310 LaForest Drive, North Bend. I just want to say that I've been a resident here for about 33 years. And many years ago, I was on the Planning Commission. I want to say that that proposed budget, I believe that's very reasonable. I know that the city needs money and I just want to go on record saying that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachel. And my apologies. Anybody else from the public would like to make a comment about this? tonight? Anyone online? Erin?
Not at this time.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Elwood. Hope you don't.
Mayor, would you close the public hearing, please?
Okay, we're doing it again. The public hearing for ordinance setting the 2025 property tax levy is now closed. It's official. Okay, Mr. Elwood. To be kind to make this motion.
We're good.
You ready?
We're good.
Ready?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve AB 24-127 and ordinance adopting the 2025 regular property tax levy as set forth in option number 1% increase, and the excess levy as a second and final reading.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Much motion made by Mr. Elwood and second by Mr. Johnson. Mr. Elwood, do you have any other comments you'd like to make to your motion?
No, I'm just, I'm aligned with staff's recommendation and it's in our biannual budget. So I hope it does pass.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, do you have any comments on your?
Any increase is difficult. We're still essentially coming out of the pandemic and feeling those effects. We've lost access to that. Come on. Funds we got from the feds. ARPA funds, thank you very much. And we did approve new contracts with a couple of different unions this year that cost of living, as we all know, has gone up. And this does equate for an average homeowner to 65 cents a month. $7.60 a year. And I realize that's not nothing. At the same time, over time, it compounds and it does add up significantly to the city if we do not take this increase that we're allowed under state law. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other council wish to comment? Mr. Vattel.
Yeah, I wanted to add one of the things that the finance committee suggested is to earmark the increase for public safety in Martin Chow, and that was a recommendation that came out of the finance. So I'd like to put a friendly amendment to this to earmark those increases for public safety.
Point of order, on a friendly, can you walk us through the process? Because right now the motion belongs to the mayor, I believe.
Yes.
Oh.
And I'm not sure friendly amendments are as casual as that, but
I believe there's been a motion and a second. And so if the council member wishes to make a motion to amend, the council member may do so.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to amend it to take what the 1% increase and earmark that for public safety.
I can second that motion.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to that?
I can.
Yep.
Unless you wanted to, since it's your motion, Al.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not always in favor of the increases, as you all know. Right now from the city, it's not a huge increase, but we spend a lot of time utilizing property taxes, and at some point it's going to get a hand for a lot of citizens. We have a lot of citizens, but we're at a position right now where public safety is increasing and we need those revenues. And I think it's important to earmark that for things that we need that's important, like public safety, that's important.
Yeah, and I'll just add, thank you for that clarification. We've done this in the past where we've earmarked certain things, so there is a precedent for us to be able to do this. So this isn't coming out of left field. And I do respect and thank you, Mr. Johnson, for adding more context around the cost to a typical homeowner and so forth. And you know, a penny is a penny and a penny can be very important, but in this particular situation, we can add this to the public good. It is a lighter hit, if you will, grand speaking. So I am fine with that motion.
Your Honor?
Yes.
My concern about making this amendment is I would want our finance director and finance group to make this kind of recommendation to us, because I don't know if they've already allocated this money to something else. I feel like doing this on the fly. I mean, if we would talk about this and come up with, you know, this as a solution, that'd be good, but we're just all of a sudden wanting to do that. And I feel like our finance director should have the say on that and let us know if it's okay for us to go that direction. I don't know if he's already earmarked this for something else, and I don't want to screw up what he's doing. So that's what I would suggest, is we get a little more information before just suddenly making a decision.
Martin's on the horn.
Yep, and thank you, Councilwoman, for that question. There's no problem with earmarking the increase for public safety. This question did come up during finance administration. And how I responded was that when we prepare the written budget or the published budget early next year, I'll make sure that document speaks to it. But if council wishes to memorialize it as part of the ordinance, that's fine too.
Anybody else have any comments? Carlotta?
Yeah, appreciate the amendment. I share Councilman Gotthilf's thoughts. I don't feel great about this at all. I do feel more comfortable earmarking it for public safety. It's clearly a top priority for our council and for our residents. I will add, I'd like to get to a point where we're paying our bills through other revenue streams and not property tax. And I think, you know, this council has taken some action this year to do that with some various decisions we've made, both for the Eastern Corridor down exit 34 and tonight with the land use. So I think those are all positive decisions in the right direction to hopefully in the future potentially avoid taking on this tax. But for the time and place where we are today, it makes sense. It's responsible, and I appreciate the amendment, which I will support.
Thank you. Any other clarification? Okay, just to refer to council right now, to make sure. Did you have? Oh, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. If you want to say something, this is your time.
I was just going to agree with Councilmember Tremolata and say I support as well.
Thank you. My apologies for interrupting. And at this moment, I'd like to refer to our council as to get the wording correct, accurate, or point of clarification.
So the motion before you is a motion to amend, sorry, I need to pull up it. A motion to amend AB 24127, an ordinance adopting the 2025 regular property tax levy. I believe as set forth in option number 1 and earmarking those funds for public safety. Yep. That is the motion before the council. I would ask if I might mirror Pro Tem what public safety might mean, just so that we have some legislative record of whether it includes jail costs, court costs. Is it, if there's a broad definition, only because I'm not sure how to best apply a legislative intent for that.
Yeah, I think it's all those things. I mean, you know, it's whether it's police, fire, whether it's jail contracts, all the public safety things that were all increasing. I mean, we know jails increased. Whoops. There we go. So that, yes, it does include all, and I don't have a problem with it being a broad stroke within that. And then stuff going on.
The call is still live.
We're back.
Hey.
This is generating.
Oh, that's a generator. All right.
Still live.
Okay. Perhaps we should. Going to call for a vote. All right, everybody in favor? Just kidding.
Aye.
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 That sounds like a solid. Any nays? No. Okay. Did you read that? I didn't really read that. That whole thing. Did we get that all organized? The motion?
I believe so.
Is it all? Did you
Yeah,
get that all,
she said
Kendra?
the motion, and then we all vote.
Yeah, but is it? Everybody's got it.
Problem is we got so much going on. Excitement with the power too.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 12. No, wait,
Oh, so, okay, so the motion, the amending. motion-
yes, sorry.
Now you gotta, that's right.
Yes, we're back to discussion the main motion as amended.
Okay, read the main motion. Let's see, the motion before us is to approve maybe 24-127, an ordinance adopting the 2025 regular property tax levy as set forth in option number 1% increase with, I can't remember writing, with earmarked for public safety, which includes police, fire, jail contracts, i.e., and the excess levy as a second and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Now we can move on to item 12, AB 24-128, ordinance amending the taxes, rates and fees schedule regarding solid waste and recycling rates. Mr. Chaw, he's not with us. Elaine, if you wouldn't mind stepping in for Mr. Chaw, we'd love that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, so the annual, the contract that we signed with Recology, the city of North Bend, we've signed a contract with Recology King County, and in that contract is a provision to increase solid waste rates based on the CPI index through Seattle and Bellevue. The CPI for 2025 is adjusted at 3.626%. And in addition to that, a companion increase is the King County tipping charge that is assessed by King County. So the committee, the Finance and Administrative Committee, reviewed this agenda bill on November 12th and unanimously approved. The proposed solid waste monthly service rates, I wish I could show you the the slide, but essentially a 32-gallon weekly pickup will increase from $49.93 to $52.71. So the quarterly billing will essentially be increased by $9 and some change. So that's the increase in total. That includes the CPI increase as well as the tipping charge increase.
Thank you very much. Council, do we have any clarified questions for Elaine? No. Okay, if there, okay, sure.
I know we read the contract. Are these percentages in alignment with what the contract was, or is there a rate? Remind me, was there a range that they could give us?
There is not a range in the contract. It's based on CPI or the Consumer Price Index that's presented every year ending June 2024 in this case and this year. And so the increases are tied right to that rate increase of the CPI. So that the rates for Recology are tied to the Consumer Price Index increase, which is 3.626% this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other clarifying questions for Elaine, Council? No? Okay, if any members from the audience would like to comment on this agenda item, we would invite you to come to the podium at this time. But yeah, we don't have anyone online.
Yeah, we do have Michael Thomas raising his hand online. I don't know if he'll come through, but he can try.
Okay, I don't want to.
I'm online. Hey, can you hear me with council?
Hey, okay.
Yeah, I have redundant power at home, so lights are out here. Mike Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SE. I have some comments actually on Recology, and I'm hoping that we can look for cost savings opportunities for members, of the public. And one of my own personal ones is I find I do not utilize the yard waste cart. I think there could be a savings to eliminate that from future contracts. The reason why I actually don't use it is all my leaves and other things are mulched on site, and I redistribute that on site to fertilize my lawn. If there's an excessive amount, of course, I send it to for recycling in a local landfill. Landscaper takes it away. So I think some of us actually don't need it. So I'd like to think of in the future that perhaps we should split off things like the yard waste would be a possible future suggestion. I'm always concerned about constraining costs and wow, garbage and recycling takeaway. This is getting to be, quite a burden across all the utility costs, for us, in the city. It's part of the cost of living. So anything we can do to bring it down, constrain it, would be helpful. And that's one of my suggestions, is to eliminate really the composting or yard waste cart for those that perhaps don't need it. This concludes my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. I can't imagine anyone else is on.
No one else.
Okay, just wanted to ask anyway. Okay, Councilmember L.
Mayor, I apologize. Someone did just raise their hand. Alyssa Campbell.
Okay. Please join us.
Hi,
Hi.
you guys hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. My name's Alyssa Campbell. I'm not a resident of North Bend, but I do work for Ecology King County. I did just want to chime into in regards to waste services and kind of how to cut down your bill. The city of North Bend does offer a discount for some folks. So it's a disability discount. And then also beyond that, I just wanted to also note that food waste is something that can be put in the yard waste bin. So that green bin is great for food waste and food soiled paper fiber materials. So that is the purpose for that can. And if you're able to use it, typically that can help reduce how much trash service you need. So I just wanted to point that out. And then also the Recology store in Issaquah, which is the closest to North Bend. North Bend residents can go there to drop off hard to recycle items such as styrofoam. That tends to take up a lot of space in the trash bin, of course. There's several other items such as textiles, batteries, bulbs that you can take to the Recology store. You can also pick up a kitchen top compost pail from the Recology store. So that's to help you use the yard waste service. That is totally free. And I just wanted to make that quick note also for anybody who's listening in. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well, online or offline. Thanks all.
Thanks, Alyssa. You came in now loud and clear. Any questions for Alyssa while we're at it? No. Okay, Councilmember Elwood, would you please make the motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. Motion to approve AB 24-128, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates effective January 1st, 2025, and amending the taxes, rates, and fee schedule as a first and final reading.
Very much. Do we have a second? Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Elwood and seconded by Ms. Heather Colon. Mr. Elwood, would you like to comment? Very motion.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Heather, like to give a comment? Okay. Anyone else on council wish to comment?
Sure. Just to make it clear to anybody who's listening that we really don't have a choice in adopting this. We're contractually obligated, and I appreciate the conversation and thoughts.
Okay, very good. Scott,
Yeah, I wanted to make the same moment, but I also want to also say, if you go to that Issaquah store, they're very helpful and they can work with you to take a look at ways to lower it. So any of you out there looking at that, I encourage you going there.
Excellent. Yeah. Sure. Oh, okay.
Sorry. Alyssa, she mentioned ways to save money. There's also residential rates for seniors 65 and older and low income. I wasn't aware of that until I read the packet. So that's another opportunity for some of our residents to maybe save some money.
That's good. And Mr. Tremolo.
I just wanted to make a comment that my family has utilized the styrofoam recycling in Issaquah. It's tremendous. Styrofoam is tough to put away in your garbage cans. And it's at the store. They're super helpful. It's great. Use it. You will save a lot of space.
Great. Okay, the motion before us is to approve AB 24-128, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates effective January 1, 2025, and amending the taxes, rates, and fee schedule as a first and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Sounds like it. Motion does pass and is unanimous. Okay, we're going on to our last item, I believe, number 13, AB 24-129, motion authorizing contract with Avidex for AV equipment. Mr. Chaffee happens to come back. I have no idea, but okay. Davenport, excuse me.
No worries, no
Hi,
worries.
Phil, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to a wonderful evening. I'd just like to point out before I begin, the beeping you are hearing is our backup battery system for the chambers. We have
Okay.
roughly about 30 minutes before that runs out.
Okay,
So-
we can do it. We're gonna do it. We're doing it.
So I'm going to go a little quickly. If you have any questions, feel
Game
free to
on.
ask. Before you is Agenda Bill AB 24-129, a motion authorizing contract with Avidex for AV equipment. The slides that Martin has prepared begin on, I believe, page 16 of his slide deck. This agenda bill is meant to address some current issues and some outstanding issues with our AV system in the chambers. The current AV system is not meeting business needs, and the upgrades will help us comply with new federal ADA requirements. In summary, this bill does three things. It replaces the failing equipment that is listed in his packet here. It will repair and life cycle critical components, and it will also help us abide by new ADA requirements. So Avidex has implemented many AV upgrades within the King County area, and they have overwhelmingly done an excellent job according to other cities and municipalities. We surveyed all cities we could get our hands on, and they all had great things to say. The proposed contract is a contract value of $113,087, with some equipment being retained and some equipment being surplus and some equipment being purchased. Slide 17 will show the breakout of equipment that is to be retained, the new equipment to be purchased, and the existing equipment that will go to surplus. Slide 18 has a breakdown of the project costs. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Phil. Anybody, council, any questions?
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, Ferguson.
Does these upgrades have a longer standing backup system?
They will have a comparable backup system, although the city is it is not too expensive to upgrade that battery backup. So we can look at that beyond and outside of this project in a separate scope.
I was being kind of funny, so. it's okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, clarifying question on our AV recordings that we post. Will the public see any visible differences on those? I guess YouTube recordings when they're looking at it after it's posted?
So our upgraded system will be agnostic as to what platform we record on. We could use Zoom, Teams, straight to YouTube. The audio experience and video experience will be markedly better.
Any other clarifying questions for Phil? No? Okay, if any members of the audience would like to comment on this agenda item, we would invite you to come to the podium at this time. We have request accommodation from the city clerk and wish to speak, please raise your hand through the virtual empty platform currently. And we'll take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak for the record. I think we have
Michael Thomas online.
Hi, Michael.
Hey.
Hey.
Mike Thomas, 1231 LaForest Drive, SC. Yeah, you should talk to me about extending your battery backup. Anyway, I want to wholeheartedly support, this improvement. I'm one of your most ardent remote participants. I benefit from this greatly. I am a frequent commenter. I also want to echo and underscore the federal compliance part, particularly ADA and the provision of government services to the disabled. Improvement to audio would help in closed captioning, would help in transcription, and many other things. This has been a pet peeve of mine, and I'm hoping that we can do more in the future. For example, the Planning Commission meetings that are held in the executive chamber are quite poor. It's very difficult for remote participants to hear and see. So I want to support this change, To me, it's very important as a remote participant and one who participates out of color, of disability, as well as compliance to the OPMA, that this is very important to your citizens who participate remotely. And I think some changes are also necessary in remote participation, and I would like leave for a moment to talk about them. One, I would hope that the city would remove the requirement to pre-register. I understand the reason for that. I personally have never witnessed the horrid behaviors that people have seen online, such as Zoom bombing in any North Bend, city council meeting, physical or virtual. Please evaluate that. I think it's appropriate to remove it, and you can eject the participant. Second thing is, I also appreciate Ms. Apadal earlier telling the mayor to, poll for remote participants. The suggestion is to really slow down. It can take several seconds to unmute. So I think there's a couple things that we can do better here, but I want to actually support this, and I think we should go further. And I'm also hoping to see some better Zoom integration. Like, for example, the speaker, some of that stuff can be put into the audio channel as to who's speaking, and that helps down the road with, who's speaking, transcription, artificial intelligence, use transcoding. I sometimes will pay for transcoding and transcription, either human or automated, for very important city council meetings. So I'm looking forward to this improvement, fully endorse it, and let's go further. Thanks, and this concludes my comment.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Elwood, back to you. Please make that.
Motion to approve AB 24-129, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract in the amount of $113,087.09 with Avadex to upgrade the existing audiovisual equipment in the council chambers in a form and content acceptable to the city attorney.
Second.
Second.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. Motion made by Mr. Elwood and second by very quick Mr. Always passing off to Mr. Ferguson. Okay. Mr. Elwood.
I appreciate this, and I'm loving that we have Phil on the team, and I think more equipment is better. I do agree with the testimony that the better experience that we can provide remotely is awesome. And there's also rulings that have come out from the Department of Justice that are requiring municipalities in the next 2 to 3 years to become more ADA compliant, which is sorrowfully neglected in many communities. So the quicker we start moving in action like that, the better off we'll be, and the better off we'll provide accessibility to all of our residents. So I do support this for sure.
Thank you. And Ferguson, do you have any comments to make?
I have every confidence in Mr. Davenport and what his suggestions are. I know that they're excellent, and I know it's going to help our community. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Very much. Any additional comments from council? No? Okay, the motion before us is to approve AB 24-129, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract in the amount of $113,087 or 87 and $9 with Avadex to, I can't even read anymore. Avadex to upgrade the existing audiovisual equipment in the council chambers in a form and content acceptable to the city attorney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carrying on unanimously. Thank you, one and all. What a unique night. Okay, we're going to move on to mayor, council and administrative concerns and initiatives. Let's see, council. I know that most of you or all already knows that this is Dave Miller's last council meeting. And of course you had to go out in a blaze of glory, right? In a very unique way. So I do have something for you, Dave. You wouldn't mind meeting me up there in the dark almost, and I've got something special for you. Yeah.
Thank you all for allowing me to serve here. I think it's not here. And it's very glad to do it again. We're going to go further with all of you. And it's a great job. And I hope you want. And when you get this, thank you.
Okay. Yes, if council wants to say anything to Dave, this should be your time. This is your time.
Okay, Dave, congratulations. Nice, I'm sure, to finally get to that point of you retiring. I'm hoping I'm not far behind you at some point. I appreciate that. That's it. We'll talk about that. Appreciate all your hard work. You've added a lot. There were a lot of things while you were under tutelage that we passed and couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for your hard work.
Carlotta.
Yeah, Dave, appreciate working with you over the last couple of years. I can tell the group and the residents, having done my work for almost 20 years across the country with jurisdictions, for a small town like North Bend to have somebody at the helm like you with your experience is a pretty special thing. So appreciate you taking the time and the effort and working with me so well over the last couple of years from Planning Commission here. So cheers, go sail the boat. Stay safe in the wind out there, but we'll see you around town. Eric.
Wonderful, thanks, Carlotta. And Ms. Cohen.
Hi, Dave. So I'm gonna miss you. I think you were an outstanding city administrator. You educated me on so many different things that it's invaluable as a newer council member back in the day, just to have your knowledge base and the way you could explain things on how the city works and why we do some of the things that we did. The insider knowledge was huge. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy retirement.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Dave, I think I've known you for the last 6 years. I met you when I started on Planning Commission back at the old building, and you've been an excellent resource on so many areas and just a pleasure to work with. And I too am going to miss you, though I know I'll see you around town a lot. Thank you so much for everything you've done for our town, because I know you've put a great implant on this town and really made it a better place.
Mr. Jocelyn.
Yeah, Dave, it's been just a real pleasure. What always shined through to me is that the interests of the city came first. You were operating in what you believe to be moving this town in a good direction and bringing on board staff that are just remarkable, incredible. You're leaving them behind, and we are thankful for that. I mean, not that you're leaving them, but that they're hopefully staying and we get to continue to work with them. And that's to your credit, as is just the attitude and can do knowledge base. Your 50 years is irreplaceable, and this city benefited from it, and we thank you for it.
And Ms. Rustic.
I just wanted to say congratulations. I'm definitely envious, and I hope that you will take this time to go do the things that you didn't do while you were working. So yes, have fun.
And Brendan.
Dave, I remember being in North Bend Bar and Grill, having a pint with you, encouraging you to run for get this job, and advocating for you back then. So it's been a journey, 3 mayors. We've had our share of contentious moments, ups and downs, if you will. Don't always see eye to eye, but it was always good to know where you exactly stood so that at least we could have a debate and a discussion and move forward. I'm really excited about your next journey into retirement. I wish I was following you on that right now, to be frank, but it has been a wonderful journey. I've learned a lot as well, working with you. So please enjoy your next phase of life. And I know you'll be around town, and we should have a closing beer and just tap it off. All right. Take care.
Okay. And Dave, thank you so much. I've enjoyed working alongside you. I admire the level of expertise that you bring forward, and for years you've given your all. So I know your next journey into the oceans of life, as it turns out to be. You're gonna be busy. I know that about you. So if you end up on a beach there, I know you're not gonna last long there either. So just have this great journey. I know we'll be in touch, and I appreciate everything you've done for our city all these years. So thank you so much. Thanks for tolerating golfing with me. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you. Okay, we're gonna move on to, well, let's see, let's go from Brendan first and we'll move on down the line.
I need to get home and start the generator. I have a wife who's texting me.
Okay.
Everybody be safe.
Okay, thank you, Brendan. And Ms. Torgerson.
I'm gonna go home and start the generator as well, and I don't know how much more time we have in here, so we need to,
Okay,
we'll see you all next week.
got it. It's going.
Yes, everybody be safe. Try not to have a tree limb fall on you if possible. Duck and dodge. But anyways, hopefully we can all clean up our yards in the morning and only have the generators for one night.
Okay. Mr. Drumlata.
Yeah, echo that. Also, reminder, help your neighbors. It's a good time, unfortunately, to be a neighbor, know your neighbors. People are gonna need help after tonight, to some degree. So lend a hand if you can.
Excellent. Mr. Gatto.
I too got to get back to turn on the generator, but I just wanted to make a comment. I appreciate all the effort that the staff put on and the amount of effort that they did when we had some issues and we needed to get them clarified for the comprehensive plan. The paramount thing that we are on council here to do is debate and debate what we feel. And sometimes it's not clean. Sometimes it doesn't look clean, but that's what we're here for. So I don't want to ever hear a silencing debate in the name of this organization. Thank you.
Ms. Rustic.
I don't have anything further to add except drive home safe.
Okay, well, that's a good one. Mr. Jocelyn.
Be safe. If you're new to town, this happens. Thanks.
Mr. Miller. He does talk. Okay, you got anything more you'd like to say, Dave? Yep.
You have anything?
Yep. Any staff concerns at this last wee hours?
I think he's already out of here.
I know.
I'm just really happy that you guys acted on the comp plan. That was a mammoth effort. And thank you for supporting it. I think it's going to turn out to be great. And I think your future studies are a great idea.
Okay, Citizen Academy starts Monday, February 3rd. This free 8-week interactive course is designed to provide an in-depth look into your local municipal government operates. Applications are being accepted through January 3rd, 2025. You can submit an application and find additional information on the city website. City offices will be closed next Thursday and Friday, November 28th and 29th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Council, a reminder that we will be canceling the work study scheduled for Tuesday, November 26th. We'll also be canceling the December 17th City Council meeting and the December 24th Council work study. Everybody be safe. Thank you, staff, for your exemplary work, especially today. We had things coming at us at all corners, and look at us now. We made it through a great meeting. So thank you so much for making this happen, and everybody in the community as well. Have a great night, everybody.
I move to adjourn. Second.
I'd like. Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, we are adjourned. It's time.